Hello, hello, peoples of the internet. Well, we're back for more Director. Anyways, in today's video, what we're going to do is bootstrap an entire cluster with Director. Now, it's not a huge cluster, just 8 nodes. But what it shows is that Director can actually be used itself to bootstrap itself. So now that we have Director installed, and we have some SSH stuff that we can set up, right? We know that we can SSH to our 8 different nodes. What we're gonna do is we're gonna tell Director to bootstrap itself and encrypt all the traffic across the cluster. The bootstrap process that we have using the prod scripts that we talked about before, link here, is actually going to bootstrap and encrypt all of the different nodes throughout the cluster. That's important because that's what you want for security in a production-like workload, but also it's fantastic in how simple it is. So stay tuned and let's get into it. Okay, so let's bootstrap our environment, right? We've covered server installation, client installation, the use of executing, the use of orchestration files. Link above for all of the different videos that we're doing from this series. But now let's bootstrap a cluster, right? We've only been doing everything with one node and one server. So let's go ahead and run Director across an entire cluster of nodes. In this case, it'll be 8 nodes. So let's get back into our server. Let's escalate our privileges. And let's head into our handy dandy virtual environment. Within our virtual environment, we can see our share, we can see our Director, and we can see our tools. Bootstrapping a Director cluster is fairly easy. Now, I have a couple examples in here on how to do it with Ansible. So even if you didn't have Director already installed, but you wanted to install it across a whole bunch of different nodes, Ansible's there to help you out. But if you had Director server installed and you wanted to bootstrap other nodes and make them a member of your cluster, we can do that too. And that can happen with the Bootstrap command that's built into Director natively. So for that, we're going to use what we call catalog files, right? So a Director bootstrap catalog file looks like this. And it lays out just like our orchestration files do. The DSL for Bootstrap is much simplified. Some of the options that are available in a typical orchestration or execution is not there for Bootstrap. And the reason for that is because Bootstrap uses Paraminko, right? So we're SSHing to our targets to install Director and get everything up and running. So here we are. We've got jobs for Director server and we've got jobs for Director client. So all we need to do is provide the Bootstrap catalog, effectively an inventory of the hosts we want to bootstrap, right? Because Director doesn't know about them. Right now, only thing it knows about is the one client that we have, which if we list our nodes, we can see we just have the one node. So let's go ahead and do something awesome. Let's bootstrap our Director cluster using our catalog file. So how does this work? Well, you can refer to the documentation. It's got all kinds of information about natively bootstrapping Director within an environment. But we're just going to go ahead and smash our way through using the help information, which is right there. So we can see that the Bootstrap command takes multiple catalog files. We can see that it can reference a particular SSH key based on what we want to use. And we can see that it has some number of threads that it can use. All right, neato. Back in our non-privileged user, you can see that I can have already created a catalog file ahead of time. This is so that you don't have to watch me fumble my way around and type a whole bunch of gibberish. Here we can see I have a Director server, I have my targets, and you can see the information about that target, the IP address, the port, and the username. Under director clients, you can see that I'm actually specifying the args up front because all of them are following the same exact pattern. Args, port, username for all these hosts. If one of these hosts had, a slightly different set of information available to it, you can actually set that here too, right? Let's say that this one was port 1234 with a username of Ubuntu. Perfectly valid. This would bootstrap an environment that has different operating system, different users, different characteristics, but all are going to be subscribed back to the same director environment. So in my environment, it's all CentOS, it's all port 22, and these are all the IPs. Now, the 96 IP is my server, which is already running. So why would I specify it again in my catalog file? It's a good question. The reason for that is because when I use the Bootstrap catalog that I'm providing by default, it will actually go ahead and set up the server with encryption in mind, and all of the different clients will use the same encrypted methods, right? It'll use curve as its encryption type, and the Bootstrap process will take care of all that for us. What's awesome about this, extremely powerful, is the fact that we can run this multiple times across the cluster, right? So it'll go ahead and install a director, rotate the keys, then go off into the clients, ship out new keys, and restart the services. That means that I can have a secure connection to my clients by rebootstrapping a cluster. I can also rotate the keys using other catalog files. I can also rotate the keys using actually built-in director resources. But if I wanted to just bootstrap an environment and rotate all the keys, the catalog capabilities allow me to do that in one fell swoop. All right, so now we are ready to run the Bootstrap command. Here's our command. Bootstrap, our catalog, and then the catalog that's provided by director. What's important here is that director allows you to provide multiple catalogs on the command line. Ordering does matter because it does a deep merge across the different files you provide. However, providing different files gives us the ability to separate our inventory in meaningful ways, right? If you have 1,000 nodes, putting all of that in one file may be unruly. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's machine managed. I don't know, but the option is there. There we go. First thing it does, runs the production bootstrap command. This is going to make sure that we're building an environment that is not only secure, but production ready. It generates our keys and then makes sure that our configuration files are in place. Once that's done, the curve encryption, which you can see here, is set in config and forces the director server to only use an encrypted connection. Then it begins bootstrapping our other clients. As it's running through the different clients, we can see that our clients are coming online. At the end of this, we'll go ahead and check our node list, and we should see all the IPs as hosts within our director cluster. As we saw from the default configuration file arguments, this process uses threading. So we get a total number of threads for the number of jobs that we need to accomplish. Now the default is 10, but you could set that to 100 if you really wanted it to. This gives us the ability to bootstrap huge clusters quickly. And we're done. All 8 nodes are online using an encrypted connection to director. Let's go ahead and prove that. We'll escalate our privileges. We'll go back to our handy dandy director manage list nodes. And there we are. 8 nodes. Well, I did say that the connection was encrypted. There's lots of ways to prove that. We can do that with TCP dump. We can also look at the logs, see what the interactions have been with the server itself, etc., etc. So because we are running the director server in a systemd service, we can actually just tail the journal. So if we actually dive a little bit deeper into the systemd service journal, we can actually see here's our little debug output because we are running the server in a debug mode, which is what we set before. But a little bit further up, we can see that we're starting our connections, allowing auth command is curve. Curve is the encrypted type connection for director, which is native into 0MQ. So we saw in the logs that it's using the curve connection. Let's go ahead and install TCP dump and prove that. Okay, so now that TCP dump is installed, let's go ahead and dump the traffic and guarantee that our traffic is encrypted. All right, we have our list of nodes, which we'll go ahead and verify one more time. There they are. Now we can go ahead and TCP dump using the following flags on this interface for port 5557, which is the monitoring port, the heartbeat port that we use across the cluster. As nodes check in, the traffic will come flying across the wire. Each node will check in roughly every 60 seconds. We can check the IPs. These are the IPs that we bootstrapped, and the traffic is looking mighty encrypted. Beautiful. Let's do the same thing for our job port, which is 5555, right? Here's our job port. Totally idle. We're not doing anything. We're going to go ahead and open up another terminal and then run some commands. Here's our other terminal. Let's go ahead and run what we used to run when we were doing the exec setup. Video information about exec above. But here we are in our handy dandy virtual environment running exec run, skip cache, timeout, sleep to, pull that. Go. There's our job. There's our success. We come back and look at our traffic. Again, it's beautifully encrypted. Now, what would it look like if it wasn't encrypted? So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to kill this, clear that. Now let's go ahead and turn encryption off for our one node here. And actually, just to be sure, we'll kill our private keys and our public keys. Okay. Now we'll restart. Our client and our server. Let's list our nodes. I should have one node. Now that our client and server is set up to run in an unencrypted mode, let's go ahead and dump that traffic. Here we are, localhost port 5555. We're going to go ahead and run another command, hello world, across our one node. And here, you can actually see the plain text data from our messages, right? It's a multi-part message, so each part is the different chunks that we're sending across the wire. But you can see the job definition in plain text. There it is. You can see the job definition continued in plain text. There it is. You can see the job ID, which we know because we just ran it, right? That's a segment of the job ID. Here is the segment of the job ID. Copy, paste. This is not encrypted, not secure. I'm pointing this out because the Bootstrap command allows us to create a cluster that is encrypted. Now, I have obviously broken the encryption of my environment. It is unrecoverable at this point. My server's keys were literally deleted. My client keys do not match the server. This is unrecoverable. However, we could just rebootstrap the cluster and we're on our way to success. So let's do that. Here's our bootstrap command. Let's rerun it. This should be a whole lot faster than when we bootstrapped it the first time. While it is going through much of the same motions, everything's already done. So it just has to generate the new config, make sure the keys are in place, move things around, talk to all the clients, make sure all of them are in a happy state. Easy peasy. From a server point of view, we're already re-encrypted. We've restarted, everything's good. From a client point of view, we're mostly done. And now we're done. Let's go ahead and list our nodes again. Here we are. There's all 8 of our happy dappy nodes. Everything looks good. Let's dump our traffic. We'll run our same job one more time. And this time, the messages are all garbage because the traffic is encrypted. Just kind of shows the power of what we can do with the Bootstrap capabilities that are built into Director using nothing more than the Bootstrap catalogs we're already providing. It's unique, it's fun, it's interesting, and it can be secure. And this security is happening across all clients for all connections, right? The heartbeat, the file transfer, the execution, everything is encrypted. All the traffic we're sending is encrypted. If I run the Bootstrap command again, it'll generate all new keys, rotate them across the board, and you're up and running. And so the Bootstrap scripts that I have provided are more verbose than they need to be, right? If you already had a cluster that was online and all you wanted to do was rotate keys and restart things, why do everything else? The Bootstrap process could be faster than what I'm already showing. And what I'm showing is pretty damn quick. So, that's Bootstrap. Just like all the other tutorials, I hope you liked it. It was quick, it was simple, it's easy to understand. And basically, we were able to get to the desired outcome in as little time as possible, right? We bootstrapped our 8-node cluster, which uses Paraminco to natively SSH to all the different targets, and then install Director and set them up in a client mode with encrypted traffic. Fantastic, crazy easy, love it. But anyways, that's it. We bootstrapped the environment, we showed it was working. Simple commands, simple things. Thank you very much for watching. I greatly appreciate your time, patience, efforts, everything that you're putting into this. I really appreciate your follow. If you liked this video, press the thumbs up. If you did not, well, don't. If you aren't following the channel, please do. Check me out on my various socials, Peznuts, across the board. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. It's all there. Links in the description below. Stay tuned. We'll have more videos here soon.